Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Canopie Coaster almost 52,000 subscriber live stream. Um, yeah, per usual, start firing questions in the chat, and I'll do my best to answer them. I see H Perm Cubes, Coaster Seeker 15, Crystalic, Space Machete. Looks like there's seven. I'm sure more people will roll in. So, yeah, per usual, start firing stuff away. It can be about coasters, non-coasters. The Patriots in the Super Bowl, so it's a good time to be a football fan. Um, Crystal, hope you had a good Wednesday. Yeah, just went out to eat dinner, so nice, nice thing to do right before this. So, if any of you are football fans, who do you guys have winning the Super Bowl? A little biased who I think is going to win, but I think it should be a good game. Just adjust this a little bit. Riverside Coasters, correct answer at the Patriots. Gibbs Prod, Seahawks, but a Pats fan. Yeah, I just don't trust the Seahawks to win, given how I've saw Sam Darnold as a Jet struggle so many times, and last year the Vikings when they struggled at the end too. So, uh, Messi 4014, how you doing? I'm doing amazing because Barcelona won and Madrid lost. I don't really follow soccer too much. I'm probably gonna watch the World Cup when that happens this year, but yeah, you typically only follow soccer you know every 4 years for the World Cup. Ben Price, update your favorite water rides countdown. I might do that one this year. I should see if enough has changed since the last time I did it. Crystalic, got any big plans for 2026? I'm hoping to finally get to California and more of China. I don't have any trips booked yet this year. I have a few weddings I'm in, so trying to work around that, bachelor parties and that stuff. But I'm sure I'll be going to parks. Just it'll be a little bit into the year. Coaster Seeker, you also think the Seahawks will win? I get it. Their defense is really good, but I don't know. I just don't trust the offense to put up enough points. Hello, Aldo Dashi 9055, and sorry if I butchered that name. Crystal, like, how long until someone asks when you're going to Kadia? Um, I'm sure someone's gonna ask you. Sort of inferred it. I don't have any plans to go um, right away. I want to see how that park does in terms of uptime of rides and just the overall experience going over there. Ben Price, where would you like to visit in 2026? Definitely want to try to get to the big new coasters opening in the U.S. So definitely want to get on Hollywood Drift when that opens. And Texas is another one because with all the new stuff they have opening. Space Machete. It would nice to see the Seahawks win, but it'll probably be the Patriots. I think the Patriots are considered underdogs, so I think with most people, the Seahawks are the better chance to win. So we'll see if that ends up happening or not. The Pajama Sam Real. Why do you believe Terran is overrated? So I will say the first two times I rode Terran, it ran much slower than the times I've gone since then. Um, I wouldn't say Terran's overrated anymore. I mean, I guess it depends. Like, I don't think it's a number one coaster or top five or anything, but it's a very, very strong coaster between some good elements and the awesome theming. It does let its foot off the gas at the end of each half, but overall, it's a very strong ride. Thrill Nerds, Texas, come on down. Yeah, definitely want to get down to Texas this year, and I believe you've done some good updates of the stuff at Coda Land, so thank you for that. Riverside Coasters, do you think Quantum Accelerator will be ready for opening day? I think so, especially because it was testing frequently at the end of the year, and with the Cedar Fair ownership in control now, they like to have their stuff ready for opening day, and there's really no reason it won't be opening day. There's really no reason it will not be opening day unless it's too cold for it to run. Absolute absolute cash. What do you think you're gonna do to Michigan's adventure? I'd like to go there again. If you're asking what could potentially happen to that park, um, I know there's the rumor Enchanted Parks might buy them. I don't know. I haven't heard anything since that initial leak, but I think a change of ownership would be good. That way, they might get some more investment. But if not, at least Shivering Timbers is awesome. Uh, Michael DeLeo, do you have a favorite cloned layout of a coaster, Skyrocket, Raptor? I guess it depends how exclusive that layout has to be. Like, I love the Hypercoaster layout at Land of Legends from Mach, which has one other clone with Flash at Lua Adventure in China. Just trying to adjust the glare on that. In terms of like mainstream clones, Blue Fire is another really good clone. Uh, Leviathan One Gaming. Will you get out to ride Coaster at Peony to try the new two train ops? That's awesome that they have two trains going on that again. Does Thunderbolt have two trains? Or is that one still one? Because I heard really bad things about that wait last year. Aldo Dossi, by the way, I've heard the flight deck at Wonderland is getting new trains with vest restraints. I'm hoping they'll make it better. Yeah, it seems like the Skywinder trains are up there. The only thing I'm wondering though, if I recall, I think Skywinder only had 8 cars and Flight Deck had 10, and given how it's a really big park, I hope they have 10-car trains added to it. I could be wrong though. I thought Skywinder only had 8 rows. Coaster Cult 4142. What's a roller coaster hot take you have? Um, uh, let's see, what's one? Maybe that Hypercoaster is the best of the mock hypers. I think most people seem to prefer DC Rivals or Hyperia. Coaster Seeker 15. Are you surprised that Sirocco Tower seems to be the most unreliable ride at Qiddiya? So I know that one didn't was commissioned a little later than the other ones. I don't want to say it's going to be the most unreliable ride long term because typically SNS drop towers are pretty reliable, but I don't know if that's been closed for weather or if it's just been mechanical issues. Adrian's garbage. Do you get chicken tenders or burgers at parks? Chicken tenders. I find that fast food style burgers, which you typically get at theme parks, tend to be well done, and I prefer my burgers more, more towards medium. Ben Brace, do top 25 wild mouse coasters. Um, Maybe it just depends upon if there's enough variance because I know the best one would be Wild Mouse XXL, but after a while, a lot of them start to blend together. Messi 4014. What do you think the best coaster of 2026 will be? I think it's gonna be Hollywood Drift because of the location on the hill, the spin, and it's an Intamin Blitz coaster. Space Machete. Thoughts on footage you've seen of Falcon's flight? The ride looks like a speed demon. That final third looks epic. Having a ride that fast with that cool setting, it looks like a one of a kind coaster. The Pajama Sam Real. When will you be going to Six Flags Qiddiya? I said this towards the start, but I don't have any immediate plans to go there. I want to just take a wait and see approach with that park, just in terms of ride availability and just the overall experience of people going. Crystalic, what is your least favorite hyper coaster? Um, I guess it depends if you're going purely off 200 feet tall rides or the traditional, like what you consider a hyper coaster. Wild Thing at Valley Fair is probably one of my least of like the traditional hyper coasters, but I would take that ride over like the. Actually, no, I think I'd still take the Big Apple coaster over Wild. So I'll say Wild Thing. Coaster Seeker 15. Codaland will be my home park when it opens. I've already ridden Circuit Breaker. It's my number one. I live in Houston. Not many parks near me. At least you have Boardwalk Bullet and Kima Boardwalk by you. It really is a shame they don't have a bigger park over there. Absolute Cash Clash. Should they RMC Wolverine Wildcat? No, because I've added enough like Titan track and different track to it over the years. I've heard it's pretty smooth now. Over Texas fan. New England is going to lose to the Seahawks. Not going to lie, you've had the most cupcake schedule, and the Seahawks will definitely own you. So I know the Patriots had a very easy schedule this year. They also got some very fortunate breaks, such as the Chargers being without their two best linemen and Bo Nix getting injured literally like the second to last play of the divisional round. But the Patriots have beaten more teams than they've lost to, so I think it's going to be Mike Vrabel will have the defense playing well, and I think with better weather, Drake May should be able to put up a decent amount of points. Ben Price Jr. do countdowns of the best roller coasters each region in the United States. I know I've done several state countdowns. You'll see more of those. Riverside Coasters. I might be going to Cedar Point this year. What's the best plan for multi days? So, Cedar Point actually is a really good offer right now if you're a season pass holder. I saw it. I think it's you can get if you stay 2 nights at I think Breakers or Lighthouse Point, you get fast lane included every single night of your stay, and it's for everyone in the room. Um, so if you're able to take advantage of that, I'd do it. I think it's good for May through the start of June. Coaster Freak 2011. What defunct wooden coaster do you wish was RMC'd? The easy one for me is Son of Beast, just because that was such a massive structure, and I can only imagine what RMC could have done with that. Coaster Boss 1654. Do you think it's worth going to to Six Flags New England for a weekend during Fright Fest if I'm not from the area? So I would say coming to New England in October for amusement parks, the Star is getting a late compounds for Boulder Dash because Boulder Dash runs its best that time of year, and with the night rides, it's amazing. You can do both Six Flags New England and Lake Compounds on the same day, so you have a good chance of doing that if you come up there. Over Texas fan, what will Tormenta be ranked in your list if it doesn't have a rattle? Definitely one of the better dive coasters, that's for sure. Space Machete, huge congrats on 52K. Seems like your channel is growing gradually at a consistent rate. Yeah, I've just steadily gotten subscribers, people returning. Again, I do this for fun, so that's why some of my stuff isn't as clickbaity as some other channels. I do it for fun, so I don't need to have like some ridiculous headline and a lot of stuff. Riverside Coasters. Did you see the survey that Six Flags New England sent out a couple months ago about the front entrance coaster? Yeah, I'd be ecstatic if they had a dive coaster or a wing coaster that interacts with the entrance. I imagine they could start off in that old Whistle Stop Park area. I always thought that'd be like a separate entrance to the water park, but I'd much prefer a coaster there. Coaster Cult 4142. Is Lightning Rod still your favorite coaster? So I have not been on Lightning Rod since they took away the launch. I'm hoping to get back on that this year. But it's still one of my favorite rides. Coaster Seeker 15. What are your four favorite Intamin Blitz Mega Coaster elements? I just love a traditional Intamin Camelback. Intamin makes some epic drops. Um, Top Hats are really good too, and I love their stalls. Hello, Strong Arm 11. Crystal, like, you should organize a meetup at some point. It'd be awesome to say hi to you in person. So I have not done any meetups for a few reasons. One, I don't want to run into a situation where like I have to cancel last minute because a park closes due to bad weather or something. Two, I know a few other channels I've done, and it's gotten a little overwhelming in a park where they had a bigger crowd than they expected, and like securities had to break them up because they've had too many people, like too big of one group at a park. And three, I've also heard there have been situations where like there have been some kids um that aren't like with a parent, and then you end up having to be their chaperone for the day. So I'm trying to avoid situations like that. If you see me in a park, you're happy to say hi, but that's why I don't publicly say where I'm going in advance. I also might be there with like friends or family, so I'm happy to say hi, but I don't necessarily have like the whole day to hang out, that type of thing. Ben Price Jr. It seems like Silver Dollar City is getting a mock hypercoaster. I don't know for sure if it's a hypercoaster, but I definitely agree the supports look like mock. I mean, the rumor I heard is they might be closing Thunderation and building some like prototype mine train over there. I'd prefer a big thrill coaster, but I wouldn't be surprised if they put in more of another family coaster, given how popular those are for the park. Coaster Boss 1654. Is there any major park in the US you have not been to yet? I think the biggest one in the US I have not been to is, I don't even think it's a theme park, Schlitterbahn. But of the theme parks, I think Wild Adventures is the biggest one I haven't been to. Over Texas fan, have you heard that Houston was supposed to get a new amusement park, but due to politics and stuff, it has not been moving along as good? Is what's it, the Grand Texas one? I think they opened with, or Big Texas, they opened with a water park, but the park never came, or is that something else? Coaster Seeker 15. When will your top 100 coasters be coming out? I know you're reviewing all the coasters in it first, so how many do you have left? I think tentatively that should be out uh, early to mid February. I think I have another 2 weeks of content I want to put out before that. Um, there's one other coaster I know for sure that I need to make a review for that is not in that list yet. Um, And I also want to make like a countdown for Japan just because I've covered a few of those parks recently. Um, Sorry, I lost my spot. Strong Arm 11. I might be going to Hershey Park sometime this year for a wedding. Any recommendations? If you only have one day, take advantage of the preview plan. If you go in with preview, it's good to knock out the stuff in the front of the park. Then when you show up the next day, head to the back of the park as soon as possible once official park opening time hits. Because stuff like Fahrenheit, Laugh Track have really poor throughputs, and Storm Runner is a great ride a marathon at the start of the day. Um, the other thing I would say about that is if you do not have early entry, at least last year they were letting non-early entry guests in an hour early to still ride Candymonium. So you might get some bonus rides if you get there early. No guarantee they do that again this year though. Uh, Aldo Daci, would should they remove Coaster Express or would you like to see it RMC'd? I would say RMC that thing because that's a huge structure. Messy. How did the snowstorm treat you? Got a lot of snow, like a foot and a half. But had a new snowblower, took care of it nice and easy for me. Crystal, like, do you plan out specific rides for your milestone coasters, and what has been the most interesting one thus far? I used to, I don't anymore, just because if I'm on a big trip, I don't want to have to like skip a coaster or if there's a big signature coaster at a park, I don't want to have to delay riding it. God forbid that ride breaks down for any reason. Um, But I'd say the most interesting one to plan was Orion, because I wanted a big one for 1,000. Um, and originally that trip, I was going to go to Texas, but at the time, Massachusetts was really, really strict on COVID restrictions, and my company was too. So I couldn't go to Texas without having a quarantine when I got home. So I ended up changing the trip and driving to Ohio, and I realized I couldn't make Orion Coaster 1,000 if I hit a few kiddie coasters in the way. So I had to find some small ones, but did it and got on Orion for my 1,000th coaster. Space Machete, any thoughts on Night Flight Expedition coming to Dollywood this year? I'm really excited for that attraction. I think it's a little weird having an indoor water ride, so I'm interested to see how wet you get, but I like everything else about it. Um, Maxwell Geiderman, how do I help my friend ease into more coasters, specifically in Six Flags? I'd say work small and work your way up. Coaster Seeker 15. I just hit 100 subs on YouTube. Yeah, congrats. Any milestone's important, and as long as you like making the videos, keep doing it. Riverside Coasters. I did see the crane permit file today for Six Flags Great Adventure. I think a 450-foot crane. So that supports their next ride's going to probably be a huge ride. I'm guessing still that mock tower coaster. Uh, Coast. I think Coast Hooter. Head in Epic Universe in a month. Any top picks? Stardust Racers is awesome. Try ride that at night if you can. A lot of people run to Harry Potter first thing in the morning. If you don't have early entry, that ride does open an hour early for everyone, not just those with early entry. So that is a way to spend your first hour efficiently. So that's two things to consider. Strong Arm 11. What teams do you wish made the Super Bowl? Well, I'm a Patriots fan, so I wanted the Patriots in it. In terms of from the NFC, I would have loved to see a team that has never won a Super Bowl before, just because unless it's the Patriots, a little biased. I'd love to see different teams win. Someone like the Cardinals. I don't think they've ever won. So versus the Eagles who have won twice recently. Over Texas fan, what do you think Fiesta Texas's new coaster will be? My personal opinion of a Coma dueling launch coaster, one size family, the other is a thrill like Joy. Um, I don't see them adding a like a two-track coaster. My thoughts is gonna be some sort of hyper coaster. I just don't know if it's gonna be a conventional hyper coaster or some type of like launch coaster that goes 200 feet. Space Machete, favorite piece of merch you own? Um, I have some train models over here that I love. I can show a few of them. Like Blackpool Pleasure Beach has some awesome merchandise. I love that gift shop there. So like, yeah, this is a big one model I have. I really like how they had I think they had the 2 different trains there, but I like the Union Jack one a lot. Um, and then I found, some 3D printed, wood coaster models online, and I really like the quality on it, like, this is the Phoenix one. Sorry, trying to find a good spot on the camera. And then yeah, I think this one turned out really great. It had the, buzz bars and everything. Um, Michael DeLeo, I've heard of Parkitect, I have not played it. Coaster Boss, do you think Atlantic City will build their Skyrocket too? I think so, but I'm guessing it might just be delayed a year or 2, just like, that Wild Mouse refurb was. Riverside Coasters, are you going to any Ace events this year, like CoasterCon? I'll probably go to one local Ace event, I just don't know which one. Uh, Pea Shooter Gaming, opinion on Banshee at Kings Island, because last time I got it gave me a headache. It depends on like, it seems like it's train dependent with that ride, because some visits, multiple trains have been smooth. Some visits, multiple trains have been rough. I think it comes down to when the trains have been refurbed or gotten wheels replaced or something. Ben Price, if you were to divide roller coaster manufacturers into 3 tiers based on price and quality, what would they be? Um, so if I'm looking at ride quality and price, RMC has to be up there for, making really good rides. I know they're not as good as some other manufacturers for capacity though. Um, Vekoma has to be up there for quality and reliability. It's hard for me to say what some of these ride ones cost though, so it's a little hard for me to do that component of it. Coaster Cult 4142. What ride do you think will replace Anaconda, King's Dominion, and Grizzly is the best wooden coaster in Virginia? I agree Grizzly's the best wood coaster in Virginia after the refurb. As for what will replace Anaconda, I think maybe they put like a flat ride in where the old entrance was, but I don't see them building over the lake again. Coaster Seeker, do you think an SS train rail rider will replace Thunderation? Um, I feel like the Silver Dollar City might add something that has more seats on it, but that would be a really cool spot to put one. Um, Coaster Boss, would you consider yourself a reliable source? Me personally, when it comes to what you say, what forces coasters have you been right or I've been mind blown by surprise? Um, I mean, I describe the experiences I've had on coasters. Rides obviously can run differently day to day. Some things that I consider smooth, others might find rough. I mean, perfect example, I ride Boulder Dash, a ton every year. And so that's what I've been used to riding growing up, but I understand that's not the smoothest wood coaster, but that's what I'm used to. So, um, yeah, it just depends on, everyone feels different things on rides. Pea Shooter Gaming, worst jackhammer you've ever had in a coaster. Overall, Coaster Express, the first time I rode it, it was brutal. Coaster It, when you went to Elitch Gardens, why did you decide not to go to Lakeside Amusement Park? Oh, I went to Lakeside. I just haven't posted videos from them yet. Um, Lakeside, I wish Cyclone was open, but I really liked the flat ride collection and lights there. Ben Price, when you revisit Texas, can you potentially update your top 25 in Texas and potentially get to Schlitterbahn? I definitely want to get to Schlitterbahn when I go. I will have. I wouldn't be surprised if we made a new Texas countdown after that, but definitely want to get there. Space Machete, any predictions what will go to Vortex's old spot, Kings Island? I would love a big thrill coaster with multiple inversions. I want a mock extreme spinner, but some of those new Vekoma rides would be great too. SDC 5914. Any tips for Tokyo Disneyland and Disney Sea? Um, those are two awesome parks. I would say use the single lines in the rides that have them. Use the Premier Access if you need to avoid something with a crazy wait. Like Frozen gets such obnoxious waits. Like I think it's still 3 to 4 hours a day. That if you're paying that much to get to a park that you don't go to that often, that's one that makes sense to skip the line for. And another tip, they do close queues early there if something gets really long waits, so you cannot save something like Frozen for the end. Um, H Perm Cubes, are you worried about Tormenta having the rattle? Yeah, definitely after the most recent dive coasters, that is a genuine concern. Pea shooter gaming, I think we'll see another RMC conversion, just not sure which one will be next. I really want one of the bad woodies in Europe, like Bandit or Coaster Express, but from my understanding, Bandit's actually popular, so that might not happen. Uh, Over Texas fan, what do you think will be Six Flags Over Texas's next ride? Um, I would love some type of big inverting flat. Yeah, even if something as small as an air race would be a nice fit for them. Uh, Juan J Lee 9902. I think Fiesta Texas' next coaster will be some tour of Hypercoaster. It just might not be a traditional one. Mid-course discourse. Thanks for the kind words and nice to meet you at Lost Island last year. Riverside Coasters. What do you think Lake Compounds' next edition will be? So that's tough because I always heard they wanted to add a spinning coaster, and they had paved a lot of room around the lake to like almost look like they want to complete a full pathway around the park. But now they're bought by Hershey. I think the biggest things they're going to focus on now is food and aesthetics. But after that, they probably will start adding something. And I think a family coaster is their biggest need because they do not have anything from the kiddie coaster before the wood coasters. So you're going from like kids only coaster to a 40-inch height requirement for the wood coasters. They need something in the middle. Coast Theater. Since Jurassic Park River Adventures closed most of the year, do you think that'll be converted into Jurassic World or stay Jurassic Park? I think it's probably gonna just stay as Jurassic Park. I suspect they would have announced if it was going to Jurassic World and advertised it as something new. Annoying Coaster Kids, Lightning Rod's still your number one. I haven't laid out my top coaster list yet this year. Lightning Rod's still a contender, I'll say that. Do you think we'll see an RMC T-Rex ever built? It seems like the Split Rex is the one they're trying to push right now. I'm not gonna say never, but it seems like that's the more likely one right now. Coaster Cult 4142, you want to become a mechanical engineer to help design roller coasters. Do you have any tips regarding the engineering industry? So the one thing I learned with the roller coaster manufacturing business is there aren't many companies that do it, meaning you might have to move somewhere far away from your family. So consider where some of those are located if that's something you're open to. I ended up realizing I wanted to stay close to my family, so I picked a non-roller coaster engineering job, but, in my free time, I still will travel to plenty of parks. Maxwell Gitterman, thoughts on Drake May and how we did against the Broncos because we were also known for our defense? So, um, obviously the previous week, Drake May had a lot of fumbles, and I think the Patriots really drilled into him not to fumble or turn the ball over, especially because we figured we could stop the Broncos offense. And then especially in the second half, they were conservative because of the weather. Um, Coaster Boss, do you know if Massachusetts or Connecticut has any hotels that would allow someone under 21 to check in? Same with the Williamsburg area. I'm sorry, I because of where I live, I have not had to stay at a hotel in those areas. I don't know what their check-in rules are, so I can't say for sure. I'm really sorry. H Perm Cubes, any plans of riding Falcon's Flight? Technically, I've ridden Falcon's Flight, the one at Adventureland in Dubai. As for the giant Exocoaster, taking a wait and see approach with that park. Ben Price, do a bigger trip to China this year. I definitely enjoyed my time in China when I was there last year in the layover, so I definitely want to get back there in the future. Uh, Riverside Coasters, what has been the most unreliable ride you have been on? So that is a tough question. That depends on the year you've ridden some stuff. I would say overall maybe the Cyborg ride that used to run at Six Flags Great Adventure because the only times I ever saw it open were in for holiday in the park when I always heard that ride overheated. So when it was 30, 40 degrees out, that actually helped the ride. Space Machete, I found Fury 325 really overhyped and underwhelming. I mean, I like the ride, but not as much as others. Is that crazy? What are your thoughts on the ride? I love the ride. It's great speed, some really good airtime hills. There is, I think, two elements of the return leg that are just okay, but a majority of the ride's great for me. Aldo Daci, worst jackhammer I've experienced, probably Mind Buster on a wheel seat. Yeah, that, the end of that ride last year was really bad with the added speed of the first half retrack. SDC 5914, thoughts on Hershon taking over Kennywood, Silverwood, and Lake Compounds, among others. So, as I already hinted with Lake Compounds, I think they're going to focus on aesthetics and food first. But after that, I think they'll start focusing on some family attractions. Um, Mid-course discourse. What's the coaster that most exceed your expectations, and what's a coaster that failed to meet them? Excuse me. Sorry about that. Um, I'd say most exceed my expectations. Probably Surf Coaster Leviathan and Sea Paradise. I had very low expectations going on that ride, but it had the forces of a hyper coaster. As for a coaster that failed to meet expectations, well, I mentioned Wild Thing at Valley Fair. I assumed the return run would have some airtime. I was extremely wrong, so I'll say that one. Eden Chang, Valley Fair is getting a new water slide. Yeah, I know they've been rumored to get a water park edition for a while, so I'm glad to see them get something. Space Machete was the longest you've waited for a ride. You waited 4.5 hours for Millennium Force. Yeah, that would be rough. I would say the longest I've waited for a ride is Hagrid's at Islands of Adventure. This was the year it opened. I waited 3 hours for them only to evac the queue. Eventually got on it twice that day, but that was a little frustrating. Erica Miller. So apparently the two rides that go off the edge of the Stratosphere Tower have been closed for like a year and a half. I know anything why that may be. So I heard Insanity might be done. I didn't know that Extreme was closed too. That'd be really unfortunate because the view on that ride's insane. Theme park motivation. Do you think Drake May deserves the MVP? Steelers have steel curtain. If there was a coaster Six Flags New England themed to the Patriots, which coaster would you like to see it be? So, jokingly, because we call Tom Brady the goat, I'd love to see a goat themed coaster like that tied in Patriots in it. That'd be funny. Um, I would say Drake May deserves the MVP because he was on a team that was very successful, huge turnaround. Their weapons probably weren't as good as the Rams and Stafford, so that's why I'd lean towards Drake May because he had to do more for that team. C Carmody 18. Do you think Quantum Accelerator will be ready for opening day at Six Flags New England? Yeah, like I said, the Cedar Fair Management Group that's running Six Flags now, they like to have their stuff opening day. The only hiccup I could see happening is if it's really cold or bad weather that day. Ben Price, do you think Falcon's Flight could be your new number one when you ride it? It very well could be because that has an awesome setting, insane speed, and it's one of a kind. SDC 5914, you're a Dolphins fan. Can you just cool it for a decade? Yeah, I do find it funny for all the teams in the AFC East that thought they had a chance once the Patriots lost Tom Brady, and then the Patriots are already back like 5 years later. Braden Richard, what additions do you want at Michigan's Adventure and Valley Fair? Michigan's Adventure should add the STC and Family Boomerang, along with the Nebulas for Valley Fair of a Coma Ghost Rider. I would love to see both parks get something with ejector airtime and launches. Both also could use something with inversions too. So, like, a new Vekoma launch coaster with inversions and airtime would be a great fit. Sorry, super chat. Thank you, Theme Park Motivation, for the super chat. Congrats, man. As far as Six Flags Qiddiya goes, I'm happy to help anyone. It's an incredible park, and don't believe or listen to all the politics nonsense. The people, they treat you great. They love America. So I've heard the people who have gone there have had very, very good experiences in terms of the hospitality of the park and the areas. The thing I'm just trying to do some research on is how that park was built, just because I know that there has been some issue with forced labor in that country. As far as I can tell, officially, it has didn't use forced labor, but I'm trying to make sure that it wasn't like run by a corrupt business or something like that. Sorry, lost my spot where I was before that. Um, sorry. Uh, Ben Price, if you were to strip every roller coaster, their theming setting, what would be number one? That's a tough one because there's a lot of coasters out there that, theming and setting are important. I guess I'll go with Steel Vengeance because that one doesn't really have any theming or setting, and it's an elite ride as is. Maxwell Glitterman. Have you seen those? Sorry, Maxwell Gitterman. Have you seen those mini coasters and cruises where the train looks like a jet ski and sits too? Yeah, I know you're talking about the Bolt coaster. So I've been on that type of ride at ground level. Um, they are fun if you can time when to boost and accelerate. I think the one mistake people make is they just go full throttle the whole time. But if you actually go fast and then slow down, you basically get that acceleration building up during the ride, so it makes it a little better. Over Texas fan, when will you be heading to Virginia and will you go to the new Kalahari Resort? With a lot of those water parks, it depends if they have a unique slide and if it makes sense with the schedule. So, for example, if those indoor water parks are open later than the theme parks, that's when I really find it appealing to go there. Coaster Boss. I always wondered this, but why do you sound monotone always? It's actually my inspiration how to script my videos, but I thought I'd ask. It's just how I try to read articulately. I guess that's the simplest way to put it. Riverside Coasters. I do not see Six Flags New England being sold off because that's the de facto best amusement park for thrills in New England, and they could go a long time without adding stuff and then still pull pretty good numbers. Ben Price, there was a time Rise of the Resistance at a 7-hour wait. I, when did it have a wait that long? Because I know it had the virtual queue to sort of prevent that. Space Machete, favorite type of flat ride and example. So I love the Chaos Pendles. I have not been on many of them, but Black Mamba, Wiener Prater is a good example of one. Coaster Seeker 15, just went on the coaster cruise. It was fun. Definitely recommend it. Um, yeah, I mean, I've never been on a cruise, but that sounds like a fun event. So glad people had a good time. ZLav 747. Heyo, I'm beyond grateful you make POV off ride and review content for my home park roller coasters, the New Mexico Rattler. Very Yeah, I'm glad I got out to New Mexico Rattler. I enjoyed Cliffs. It was a small park, but had a good time there. And New Mexico Rattler is an awesome coaster for laterals. Where was I? Ben Price, do you think Fast and Furious Hollywood Drift will be better than Stardust Racers? Um, Stardust Racers is a really long ride that's awesome, so it'd be hard to beat that ride. But I think Hollywood Drift will definitely be up there. I tend to think Stardust is going to be better. H perm cubes. If you could only ride one manufacturer's rides, which would it be? I will say Intamin just because they have such a huge catalog of both coasters and non-coasters, and their coasters as well have huge variety with a bunch of good ones. Theme Park Avenue. What is your favorite family coaster? That is a tough one because it depends what you call a family coaster. So some people use height requirement as the family coaster. If that's the case, like Phoenix at Knobles is probably up there because it's only a 42-inch height requirement. But I'd say the thrill level of that ride's not really a true family coaster. Some of the ones I like are Hagrid's if you count that as a family coaster, but again, that might be a little too much. Disney has a bunch of good family coasters. Megalodon's a really good one. Yeah, it's a little tough because it depends, like I said, where you draw the line. Uh, Brandon Zander, have you been to Michigan's Adventure and what do you think of the future of it? I've been to that park a few times. Love Shivering Timbers. I think that park is gonna, stay open. It might change hands, and if that does, it's probably a good thing. So it might get some more investment. Hello, Ninty Pikachu. Roger Greenberg, what's your favorite icon for Halloween Horror Nights at Universal Resort? Um, favorite icon. I don't really know who their icons are, but favorite house I've done there. I loved the Ghostbusters haunt they did a few years ago. Space Machete. Any predictions will it replace Fast and Furious Dark Ride at Universal Orlando after the coaster is built? So I really wanted a Back to the Future attraction, but looking at where that is located it is right next to Diagon Alley, so I could see them maybe trying to turn that as some sort of Harry Potter expansion because that area is so popular. Uh, ZF 747, unpopular opinion, but New Mexico Rattlers first drop offers insane airtime. I thought I think it's the second or third drop is the one that I thought had the best airtime in the ride, but the laterals are what surprised me most in that ride. Riverside Coasters, do you think you're gonna go to J Peak Pump House? I've been, it's awesome, and Lachute is really good and super smooth. I definitely wanna get in Lachute, and that park's pretty far north, so I'd have to go up there for some other reason. Maybe on the way to, like, Montreal at some point, but I don't have any immediate plans to go there. Chris Coasters, opinion of Patriots going to the Super Bowl. Definitely excited. I did not expect them to be back here as soon as they were. I'm hopeful they win the Super Bowl. Been playing really well this year. But yeah, I'm just excited they're not bad anymore because it was a miserable few years. Space Machete, would you rather only get to ride B&M or RMC? So I prefer RMC coasters on average, but B&M has such a huge catalog that you have more coasters like that. I'd still say RMC though, because I love their ejector airtime rides. So yeah, adding on to that, my favorite family coaster is Hiccup Swing Gliders. Yeah, that's another really good one. H Perm Cubes. Did you hear about the rumor of Maverick's Heartline Roll coming back if it gets a retrack? I heard that video from El Toro Ryan, and because it's from him, I think there's a decent chance of that, considering he was right about the Top Thrill 2 stuff before it came out. Ben Price, will you go to Bond Luxury Theme Park? I'd like to. I just don't know when it would be. Uh, Hall Cameron 814, thoughts on the suspected mock spinning coaster coming to Great Adventure? So I know a lot of people have been bashing the tower coaster. I'm actually looking forward to it. I love the extreme spinners, and getting a spinner 400 feet tall sounds insane. Pinfari Paul, do you think Boss will get RMC'd? Um, especially if that park's rumored to get sold, I don't see it happening. I would love to just see a big wood retrack because the layout's good. It just needs to run full speed. Roger Greenberg, icons are like the host of the event, for example, Jack the Clown, the caretaker, the director, the storyteller. So I'm not familiar with really any of those icons, so I can't say which one's my favorite. Sorry. Ninty Pikachu, have you been to Kings Island? Many times. I love that park. Space Machete, what ride would you like to see renamed, or what would you name it? I'd say anything that's named it like just general roller coaster. I prefer stuff that's a more unique name. So name it after something in the area, whether it be an animal that's unique or a sports team or something. Just make it unique. So yeah, I'm the type of guy that makes rankings for coasters I've not ridden. In my opinion, the best roller coaster in the world is Ride to Happiness. Yeah, I that's one of the best coasters out there. I like to make rankings based off the rides I've been on, just because there's a chance that a ride surprises you or a ride underwhelms you, and so that's why I think it's hard to compare stuff you've ridden versus stuff you haven't. John Pelosi, 6575. Do you prefer Flying Aces or Sky Rush? So originally, I preferred Sky Rush with the old restraints and old trains, but with the new seats, I prefer Flying Aces now. Mid-course discourse. The inverted launch of the mock spinner will be one of the most ridiculous elements ever. Yeah, that's gonna feel very strange being upside down getting boosted. Messy 4014. Do you think a wild moose would fit well at lake compounds? Yeah, they need a family coaster, so that would be a great fit. Spinning coaster is another I've mentioned. Ben Price, what do you think about the Mach Extreme Spinner coming to Plopsaland in Deutschland? Do you think it'll be Mach's best coaster? It very well could be, especially because I think they said it was going to be more extreme than Ride to Happiness. So if you do something even wilder than that, that should be an amazing ride. Siger 9909, what park is the best theming? Um, hmm. It's hard for me to beat some of those Disney parks. Like Disney Sea has to be up there just because of the. It's clear that park didn't have much of a budget. In a good way. Riverside Coasters. Do you go to the Big E, and if so, what is your favorite food and ride? Favorite ride, I love when they have the Mega Drop Tower. That has not been there for the past few years though, which is unfortunate. Beyond that, I also like Delusion and Twin Flip, but again, those have not been there for a few years now. Favorite food there, I love the chicken pot pie bread bowl. I think it's from like Storowtown Bar, Storowtown Soups. It's across from the state houses. Andrew the Legend 42. What do you think of the name for Alton Towers' new coaster, Bluey the Ride? Here comes the Grannies. So I would have thought you were joking around until I saw that was actually the name of it. I don't get why it's called that. Very bizarre name. Um, but that park has a ride called Gangsta Granny, so I'd expect nothing less. Um, Zia, why I say Ride to Happiness is the best coaster in the world is because even though I've not ridden it, the best coaster I've ridden is Time Traveler. So just playing devil's advocate, if you really like Time Traveler because of I'm guessing some backwards airtime, you might love like DC Rivals because that has I think the most backwards ejector airtime on the planet. Space Machete, next coaster you predict to get RMC'd. That's a tough one. The one I'm wondering could be Montezuma and Brazil because I know they said they're gonna. I think they are adding steel track, but that could be one of many things. Aldo Daci, thoughts on Wildcat League compounds now that got retracked by Gravity Group. Very happy they retracted. That ride went from absolute trash I would not ride for years to something I'll ride every visit now. It is now a smooth ride, which is something I would not believe a few years ago. Hall Cameron, thoughts on whether Tormenta will have a rattle like most recent B&Ms? I hope it doesn't, but unfortunately, I think it may if the recent ones are any indication. I hope I'm wrong though. Ben Price, do you think the roller coaster coming to Villains Land Magic Kingdom will be Disney's answer to Velocicoaster? I don't think they'll go that extreme, but I think it. My guess is it'll probably be something more like Megalodon or Big Bear Mountain in terms of like it'll have an edge to it, but it'll still be family friendly. Pinfari Paul, best Walibi park. I really like Walibi Rhone Alps. It had the happy medium of it has a really good coaster lap, not quite as good as Walibi Holland, but it has better theming than Walibi Holland, closer to the theming of Walibi Belgium. Messy. What's even more funny about the Blue Rise at Alton Towers now is a record for the most granny themed rides. Yeah, that's a very bizarre record, but they do have it. Space Machete. Any advice on asking questions at work? I tend to think I'm a burden to my team and feel incompetent. You know, we're all there to work together. So be honest, be open, and ask questions. It's better to ask a question than to do something wrong. Riverside Coasters. Do you think they will keep replacing track and Boulder Dash until it's full steel? I don't think it'll be full steel. I think they want to replace sections that they're were high stress and hard to get to. So I'm hoping there's not many more of those. John Pelosi 6575. Thoughts on the future of the remaining intimate hydraulic launch coasters? So my thought is if it's possible to get up to launch speed without the hydraulic launch, I could see it going away in the future. It would be an expensive overhaul still because you have to change the trains, but um, I'd say Stormrunner probably has more time, given how Hershey seems to keep that one running fairly reliably. Um, Erica Miller, what's your favorite comedy movie? Um, See, I prefer more action movies just because they have more rewatch value. Like I really like Ghostbusters. I don't know if that counts as a pure comedy, but I'll say that one. Ben Price, if Disneyland were to build an elite coaster, what would you want it to be like? If they were to build like my pipe dream, I'd love an Intamin Blitz highly themed. I don't see that happening though. Messy, do you think Marugani's launch could ever be replaced with LSMs? It's definitely a possibility because that ride doesn't need the hydraulic launch to reach that speed, so it could happen if it stayed a big, it was a big problem. Space Machete, could a faster launch other than LSMs or hydraulic be built? Um, so I would say pneumatic, but given the issues SNS had with Ring Racer, I don't know if they'd try that again. So for now, I'm gonna say no, but it's theoretically possible. Mid-course discourse. Any IPs you love that you wish a ride would be themed to? Um, hmm. That's tough because a lot of the big franchises I like are already up there. Um, this might be a little cheating. I'll say Avengers, but I know we have Avengers Campus, but I want like the full event. Oh, and no, IMG already has an Avengers ride. Um, I can't think of one off the top of my head. Coaster Filmer. What do you think would be the next coaster to go to Park Asterix after the Infinite Multi-Dimension coaster? Um, let's see. So I'm gonna say a is Guderick still rumored to be removed? If that's the case, maybe I like a another like mm, I'll say a hypercoaster if they can get one built that tall because they have the attendance and budget for it. Pinfari Paul, will Bond Luxury Theme Park be the best park in Mexico? I really like Six Flags Mexico. It's hard to say without going to Bond Luxury Theme Park, but if it's better than that, that means it's a really good park. Andrew the Legend, is Lightning Rod still your number one? I haven't built my top 100 list this year. That's definitely on like the short list of contenders for number one. Erica Miller, since you're an engineer, would it be possible to put like to rows of LSM stators? Oh, are you asking if it's possible to put 2 rows of LSM stators side by side? Mach does that already if you look at Voltron. I believe there, correct me if I'm wrong, that they use one side at a time so that way they can like cool one side down while the other is running. But I could be wrong on that. Riverside coasters. Do you think Six Flags New England will change the Picnic Grove into an elite roller coaster? I don't know if they could get permission to build a coaster, so I'm gonna say no, especially because that's where they put all their haunted houses for their most lucrative event of the year in Fright Fest. Jonah Myers. I have seen the construction going on at Silver Dollar City. It definitely looks like it'll be a pretty big coaster. Space Machete. Which park is going to get the first SNS access? This is cheating, but those family entertainment centers in Saudi Arabia that are already building the Transformers ones. Ben Price. I did go to Fantasy Springs, a really cool area. I like the new rides, especially Frozen. Keith the Dragon. Do you like Super Mario Odyssey? So I have not played that game, so I don't know, but I've heard very good things about it. Erica Miller. Would it be possible for Intamin to put two stators side by side to get close to a hydraulic launch acceleration rate? Um, so I know with LSMs you can be really precise with the firing time. So I don't know if having two side by side could make it a little more tricky. Um, I don't know exactly how those work, so it's hard to say. John Pelosi. I have not been to any Bruins games this year. I actually do not like the Bruins. I'm not a big hockey fan in general. So yeah, I've never been to a Bruins game and probably never will. Pinfari Paul, the best coaster in San Antonio is Iron Rattler. Um, Coaster Seeker, best Mauer coaster. Unless I'm forgetting one, it would have been Rip Ride Rocket. Some really good airtime on that ride. Cool setting. Just it was a problematic ride. Ben Price, favorite drop in a log flume. Um, there's some really good flumes out there. Chiapas has a really good drop. I think if there's any others that come to mind. One underrated drop at Solon in Korea. That drop had some crazy airtime on it. Seabreeze's log flume is another really good drop, especially because you have no restraints on that one. Aldo Daci, have you ridden Green Lantern First Flight Six Flags of Magic Mountain? A lot of people said it was terrible and uncomfortable. I did ride that one. It was very uncomfortable if you got stuck upside down. The other Zax spins are a lot better because they can actually rotate freely. Keith the Dragon, what is your favorite section in Epic Universe? I'm gonna go with Super Nintendo World. I absolutely love the theming of that land. Uh, G Star 8985 to the IP question you just read. How about Black Panther? Um, so the only reason you said it could be in an Africa jungle section of a Six Flags park, that's DC, so that they wouldn't have the rights to it, but Disney could use it somewhere, just not in Florida. Riverside Coasters, have you been to Huck Finn's Playland? And if so, is really underrated. I actually posted a ride of me on their octopus last year, somewhere in time on the channel. I went there once several years ago to ride the coaster. I actually preferred it back when it was Hoffman's Playland, just because you had the loose bumper cars. Um, but it's an okay little park. Jonah Myers, who's winning the Super Bowl? I'm a little spoiled as evidenced by what's a little biased as evidenced by what's here, so I'm gonna say the Patriots. But I think they match up well against the Seahawks. Invari Paul, best Intamin wood prefab. T Express. You have the Star of El Toro with the airtime smorgasbord of Balder. Coaster Seeker 15. Do you prefer Hollywood Dream or Rip Ride Rocket? Definitely Hollywood Dream if you're in the backwards row. Not backwards row, backwards train. Have a good night, Messi 4014. Sorry, I don't know how to say this next one, but hello, I love your videos of Korean coasters. Thanks for the support. Shem the Grace Hopper, favorite surprise drop on a coaster. Um, I never got to ride Wild Mouse at Blackpool Pleasure Beach, but the Hidden Double Down Grand National is a really good drop. Um, I will say the ones that have surprise drop tracks are my favorite. I don't want to say which ones have caught me off guard, but that's the general answer I'll give. Coaster Seeker 15, favorite coaster in San Antonio is Texas Stingray. Um, that's another really good one, but I love Iron Rattler, the quarry interaction, the ejector airtime. It's hard for me to be. That's one of my favorite coasters anywhere. Keith the Dragon, favorite park in Texas, definitely Fiesta, Texas. Riverside Coasters, is Canobie going to build that coaster? Yeah, they're just always pretty slow assembling things. Knowing them, that'll probably open like in the fall of this year. Pinfari Paul, favorite park in Asia. Um, of the ones I've been to, it might. Oh, sorry, that's actually. I'm gonna go with Tokyo Disney Sea after my revisit. The first time I went to that park, Journey to the Center of the Earth was closed and Fantasy Springs wasn't there, so having both those available made a huge difference with that park. Uh, our Gravity Group wood coasters made cheaper than most other wood coasters relatively. So I think it depends which wood they use because I think their pre-cut wood costs more than traditional wood. So it just depends what the client orders. Coaster Filmer, do you think Energylandia has the same issue with Geauga Lake? So I would say with Geauga Lake, the issue there is they took two parks that people spent one day at each and combined into one. So you know how people going for one day instead of going to two separate days each park. Um, with Energylandia, it's always been one park, so I don't think it has the same issue. Um, Bentica 4, are you planning on going to San Antonio? Yeah, I definitely would go there when I go back to Texas. Space Machete, any advice how to start eating healthier? I only ever want to eat pizza or fried chicken. So I definitely feel better when I eat like fruits, vegetables, that stuff. So just think how you feel afterwards and try to remember that. Keith the Dragon, have you gone on a coaster on a cruise ship? No, because I've not even been on a cruise ship. Jonah Myers, thoughts on the mysterious enchanted parks? So I really enjoyed Enchanted Forest when I went there a few years ago. Really nice water park. So I'm intrigued to see if they expand that big that quick. But if they run it like their water park, I think it could be a good thing. Erica Miller, I've read the standard newer Vacomas are not terribly expensive. There's a chance the new Six Flags chain could pick up a traditional hyper like the proposed Energylandia one. Layout looks sick. So I know with Vacoma they like to clone a lot of stuff, which is how they help keep costs down. But you know, if you built a unique hypercoaster, that probably isn't something that's going to be cloned. Coaster Seeker 15 was the best wood coaster in Europe, not counting the RMCs. Unless I'm forgetting one, I would think it's Too Near to Zeus. Sorry, Too Near to Zeus. That being said, I know they're talking about turning that into a steel coaster in the future. Um, yeah, so that might not be a wood coaster much longer. After that, I think let's see, I'm assuming you don't want me to include the prefabs either. So after that, I think the best one might be Vodon at Europa. Oh, sorry, you meant with SA, you meant Saudi Arabia, not San Antonio. No immediate plans to go there. Like I said earlier, I'm taking a wait and see approach with that park and country. So I'm probably going to go shortly. So I'll just answer the last few questions I see here and then drop off. Shem the Grace Hopper. I unfortunately not ridden a drop track coaster. Yeah, if you can go in blind in any of those, it's awesome because they really can catch you off guard. Aldodachi, speaking of which, the Viking roller coaster in Energylandia should replace the over-the-shoulder restraints of lap bars. Definitely. That ride does not need over-the-shoulder restraints. New England coasters, worst coaster in New England. Now that Wildcat's been retracted, it's probably just some small, janky little kiddie coaster. John Pelosi, thoughts on the new Fast and Furious coaster coming to Universal Studios Florida? So I actually liked Hollywood Rip Ride Rocket, but I'm not naive. I know that was a problematic ride. Um, I'm definitely excited to see another big Intamin launch coaster there, especially an extreme spinning coaster. Sign me up. Space Machete, does the surf coaster forces feel cool? Is it overhyped? It's very unique. Getting standing airtime like that. If you want unique rides, that's definitely up your alley. I'll just answer these last three that I'm going. Erica Miller, favorite Togo coaster. Um, I think it's the two that come to mind are Surf Coaster Leviathan or Fujiyama. I would probably give the edge to Fujiyama, but it's very close. Uh, Andrew the Legend, favorite coaster soundtrack is Helix, and Keith the Dragon, most recent park to open in Texas. I'm gonna say Codaland. I know it's not fully open yet, but they've opened a few rides here and there. So thanks again. Have a good night. If there's anything I missed, feel free to put it in a comment. I'll do my best to answer it. But thanks again for the support. And go Patriots.